Welcome to VoteProPot-Cast, the award-winning cannabis news podcast brought to you by VoteProPot.com. Here are your hosts, Phil Adams, Jay Britton, and Andrew McCreadies.
With adult use growing, are we forgetting about medical weed? I'm not, but maybe some people are. Hollywood elites are investing in a new canna-beverage, and it seems to be taking off. So we'll talk more about that. And cannabis lobbyists are lowering their post-election expectations about federal legalization, and we'll discuss why that is in a moment. But first, we can now project a winner in the 2020 elections. No, I'm not talking about the presidential race, but we are talking about state ballot initiatives about legalization of cannabis. Jay, what's the story, man?
We swept. Cannabis swept. That's right. Yeah, man. Good day for
Won
cannabis.
them all.
Won them all, man. Let's go through it. I've got all the information.
Considering the rest of the state of politics, we really need all that legal weed right
we do,
now.
man.
Really, and a decisive win.
Decisive across the board. Even in some of the initiatives that we weren't sure about, and a couple were really close.
Jersey flew through, and now I get down. What is Chris Christie going to be like with the munchies?
Oh my God!
Really, I'll tell you. Well, first of all, let me say this: if you're watching us on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the little bell icon so you get a notice on every episode.
You get a notification.
What I did here is I put some numbers together.
You want to get notificated.
I read a bunch of articles today on this. And again, just like the presidential part of the election, these aren't final numbers. They're not certified yet for the most part, but they're pretty settled as far as cannabis goes.
All right.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the state. I'm going to give you Trump and Biden, where they sit at this time, and then we'll talk about the initiatives. Let's start with the one that was the closest. If you remember,
now we're just going to go through those 5 states where they had
five states.
Not all 50 states.
Hell no.
No, that'd take us for the rest of the time. Okay.
2 shows. So we start with Mississippi. If you remember last week, we went through the polls. Mississippi was dead even at 50-50 based on the polls.
Right. That's right.
Well, guess what? The interesting about let me explain Mississippi a little bit. This is unusual because they got enough signatures. They got an initiative 65 on the ballot. And initiative 65 essentially says that medical cannabis is going to be legal for 21 and over. You can have up to 2.5 ounces. They're going to have
in Alabama.
No, Mississippi.
Mississippi. I mean, yeah.
And they're going to have a 7% sales tax. But what the legislature did, because they were so against it, is they came up with an initiative 75A, which they put on the ballot with 60. I said 75, 65. There's 65 and there's 65A. 65 is the making medical.
The ballot initiative.
And 65A was what the legislators put on there. And what that did is it would restrict smoking to terminally ill patients, would require a pharmaceutical-grade marijuana products, and deliver oversight. It was extremely strict. Essentially, you have to be dying of cancer to get it. So
everybody voted for that.
Well, what they were hoping for was that folks would go in there and place a ballot on 65A. It was one or the other. So here's the numbers. It was basically approximately 60% for Trump in Mississippi, right, and 40% for Biden. So it's a very red state. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Very red state. Yep.
Yet what we got was 74% voted for Initiative 65, and only 26 voted for 65A. So it's a huge win.
Huge win.
Huge win and again, once again, like all the rest of the polls in the country,
a lot of Republicans voting for legalization.
Apparently, but not only Republicans, apparently as well.
No, certainly not.
Of course not. You would expect the Democrats to vote for it, but the point Phil's making is, hell, you had Trump creamed Biden in Mississippi. 60 to 40, creamed him.
But Trump creamed Trump.
But weed.
More people voted for weed than Trump, right?
So anyway, Mississippi's
weed beat Trump.
So I started with Mississippi. That's the one that we were most unsure about. If we thought we would get 4 out of the 5. The next one's New Jersey. Cruise through. Again, Trump's 38%, Biden 60 point something. So they had a question 1 for recreational, and the numbers were 67 yes and 33 no. So 2/3 of the voters said yes.
And what were the pre-election polls saying?
I don't have that with me. We went through that last week.
It was pretty hefty.
Yeah, it was very close to that. Next is Montana, which is a very Republican-leaning libertarian state. Joe Jorgensen, my lady, who's a libertarian out there, actually got 2.5% of the vote, which is pretty good. But anyway, they had Initiative 190, which is for recreational.
That's like 4 people.
Legalizes cannabis 21 and over. They also, interesting in Montana, they also have a constitutional initiative 118 attached to that, and they have to do that by their law, by Montana law, to allow to set an age limit. So that was also attached to it. Okay. But the point is, Montana went in almost 60%. Right now, they're at about 57 to 43.
Okay.
For weed?
For recreational?
That's a plus for recreational in Montana. So that's flying through.
Boom.
Next is South.
And that was a very conservative state.
Very conservative. Most of these are. South Dakota, Montana.
New Jersey's the only one who's really.
New Jersey's not. Arizona's is kind of purple now.
Kind of purple now,
but the rest of these, and that's the point. I mean, the way that weed is getting legal across the country is with these ballot initiatives in these red states. It's incredible. So Montana was, like I said, 57-43. South Dakota, we talked about, they have 2 ballot initiatives, right? They have one for medical, one for recreational. So the polls were kind of, close to 50-50 on the
Now, that wasn't an either or proposition, though. You could vote on both of those.
Yeah, that's right. There were 2 separate measures. Measure 26 was the medical. That won 70 to 30, overwhelmingly. Okay. And Amendment A, which is the recreational, squeaked by 54 to 46.
That's a good squeak.
That's a pretty good squeak. So they got both. They got recreational and medical in South Dakota. And finally, we go to Arizona. Arizona's still counting their votes, as you know. And right now, Biden and Trump are about 50-50. And the Proposition 207 is a recreational, legalizes cannabis up to an ounce, 21 and over, sets up a licensing system, so on and so forth. And it won pretty decisively, 60 to 40. So,
well, they already had a medical program.
Right. They had a medical program.
That helped, yeah.
So, and the polls showed about that. They were pretty, like I said, we were confident on all of these, with the possible exception of the Mississippi and
South Dakota
and recreational in South Dakota. But all 5 flew through. So, congratulations, Herb and Mary Jane, the power couple. You made it through.
The ticket.
So that's a wrap up on the initiative. That's one thing we can call.
Yeah, the rest of it we may not know for
months.
Years. Just surprise me on Inauguration Day.
Yeah. So there you go. So it was a really good day for weed. Really good day for weed. And
excellent.
If you follow it on Facebook and you follow all that stuff, Normal and all the websites, you saw it. It's all that was online the last 2 days is that weed just crushed.
Well, that's great news. Now, in a related story, there are a number of DC-based cannabis industry lobbyists who have kind of had to downplay their expectations as far as federal legalization is concerned after now that Republicans appear to have maintained control of the U.S. Senate. So a lot of them thought that they would get a more favorable Senate, but that has not come to pass. For example, Michael Correa, a lobbyist for the national, we've talked about the National Cannabis Industry Association. You can go on VoteProPot.com and we've got a link to them. He kind of expressed what you might call a tempered optimism about that, saying what he said was, I thought the Senate would switch, so I'm sort of recalibrating my expectations of what we think we can get. So he's saying hopefully there's going to be some progress made, but as far as striking down Schedule 1 or the MORE Act or anything like that, he's a little more dubious about that.
Well, I don't know. But it's going to be a new Senate, and I'm not sure. I think there's still a chance if a Democrat is in the Oval Office. I don't know. We might get some action. We might. But we have the former governor of Colorado, the first governor ever to sign adult use to legalize adult use, is now a state senator.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
He's a U.S. senator. You're talking about Hickenlooper.
Yeah. He's now a U.S. senator.
Now, he beat out Cory Gardner, who was pretty much the most enthusiastic supporter for legalization on the GOP side.
No question.
And there's a lobbyist, Safira Galoub from the National Cannabis Roundtable. She is lamenting that loss to some extent, saying that they lost a key advocate on the GOP side. She said, quote, "A Republican Senate without Cory Gardner is an industry without a Republican champion. We've never had a Republican who is as overtly and enthusiastically fighting for us." So
that's true.
If this is gonna pass the Senate, it's got to pass through a gauntlet of Republicans, and now there's just one fewer.
But with Mitch at the helm, would it ever even make the floor? That's really. What do you think, Phil?
A lot of things are not going to make the floor.
I don't know. I just think that if I don't know. For some odd reason, I'm thinking maybe Mitch might, have a come to Jesus moment, thinking maybe we need to revisit some of these bills on my desk.
You may be right, and that's
right.
It's not an outlandish thought because now traditionally, and one of the things that McConnell has always said is that traditionally the Senate has been the house of Congress that slows things down. That whereas passions can run hot in the House and things can be passed here and there, the Senate, someone described it as like the saucer where the coffee or the tea is cooled off before you make big decisions on it. And he's taken that philosophy maybe a little too seriously, but he takes it seriously. And he's called himself the Grim Reaper because that's where legislation goes to die. And I don't think he is dead set against the idea. I just don't think he sees it as a priority. Yeah. And it's going to languish. And but you may be right. Maybe with a different administration. And you're right. It's not they've maintained control, but it's not the same Senate that it was, or it won't be that it is now.
Right.
So progress, maybe. Well, we'll just have to see.
Well, Chuck Schumer made an announcement just 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago that he was going to make it a priority. So if it gets through the House, we'll see. We'll see.
And also, it's a new country. There's 5 more states where it's legal, and now it's going, guys.
True.
Getting to the point now where over half of American citizens,
1/3 of the
live in a
population.
state where they can buy it recreationally.
Well, this is and we've talked about Earl Blumenauer. He's a representative from Oregon who is also a fierce advocate. That's kind of what he said, Andrew, that the cumulative effect of the passage of medical and adult use, these ballot initiatives in these 5 states and others, will make federal legalization that much easier. That's his.
That's a good point, Andrew. Yeah.
So Earl Blumenauer agrees with you.
What do we have now? 36 states with a legal, either medical or recreational, is it?
I think it's 30? Up to that. Yeah, it's 35, 36.
Plus the districts. So, you're getting to where you're way more than half. So,
right.
Well, I was talking to Faye today, and I've been talking to Faye a lot about since she started the graduate program. She writes a lot of papers, and, we talk about weed a lot, and there's a lot of different subjects, and it's fascinating some of the material that she's shares with
studying.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. And one of the things that they're doing that she's noticing she noticed it when she worked in the industry, and we've all have noticed it. And it's not unknown. It's not a big secret that a lot of the people who are getting these medical marijuana licenses are doing it because when it becomes legal recreationally, that's when they're going to cash in their chips.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they're there. That's everyone who put $1 million.
Yeah. That's why they're taking the course. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
But
that's not what the course is more of a medical thing. And the people in the course are going, but there's still a medical need. So what happens when it passed recreationally, everyone's going to open up recreational places. And where do you go when you have a question about medical marijuana? Legitimate question.
Right.
Because there is a legitimate use for medical marijuana. So,
No
and
doubt
also,
about
but
it.
still, we got so much to learn and how. And now, think about it. We figured that cannabis has hundreds of compounds in it. And it's the combination of these compounds in different ratios gives the desired effect of helping you with nausea or with seizures or with depression or anxiety, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So what I said long ago when we first started this, what they need to do is isolate each compound and figure out like a recipe. So if recipe. Charlotte's Web has this amount of terpenes and different compounds, and if we reproduce this, if we isolate each one of those compounds, mix it back together in this formula, we could recreate exactly Charlotte's Web every time.
Right.
Every time.
Yeah.
So
and to be taken seriously as a medicine, I think they have to.
But
do
we're
that.
nowhere near that. So we've got to do now. Israel, they're doing that kind of research now in Israel.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that now. And so the problem is in America, like there was, they have been like doing some studies and seeing what works. There was a kid with epilepsy. He was autistic, and he was very physical and violent at times. Now, I don't think he was hurting people as much as himself.
Right.
Some of these people with autism, they'll hit themselves or bang their heads. So they found this strain, and they gave it to him, and the kid stopped being violent. And then one day the kid started to talk, and that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Because some kids with autism never speak.
Right.
So this kid started speaking, but then they ran out of that strain. And once they ran out of strain, he hasn't spoken a word since.
Wow.
So there really is a need for it. And I'm afraid that so many people are investing their money in adult use, and there's going to be lack of information in medical.
You said yourself, Andrew. I mean, look at Maryland, who has a medical program, no recreational program.
Right.
But when you go in there, there's nothing medical about it. Let's be honest.
Well, some of they were when they first opened it. Now, cannabis was a nice store, and they had they were helpful. But there was Frederick Solutions, or I think, or whatever they called it. G-Leaf has taken it over since. But they were real proactive. I mean, they were real. Right? They really came from a medical background, and they were great. And when you first walked in, you talked to the guy for an hour about your medical purposes and all this. But now G-Leaf's taken over, and G-Leaf's a great company. They, they're a vertical integrated company, and they make some great products, and they redid the whole dispensary, and it's great. It's really nice. But since the pandemic, it's all phone in your, order online.
That's true. It is pandemic related because I've gone
there's not the same level of one-on-one
there's no service. There's zero since the pandemic started.
I guess my question would be when you go into the dispensary in Maryland, even before COVID, and you walk up to the counter. I mean, seriously, can you ask a medical question? I've got 10. You
could talk to the bud tender
what
about
strain do I want for my.
Well, the bud tenders, I think a lot of them, they would have given you the basic. Well, if you want to get some sleep, go with an indica.
Okay.
If you got back pain and you're doing during the day, go with sativa. And if you don't want to smoke, go with a vape. And, they could help your basic question.
Well,
now, if you said, my kid has Dravet syndrome and I need a specific oil to stop his seizures, I don't know if the average bud tender is going to be able to accurately answer that question.
Well, that's why there's so much skepticism about the whole medical thing with a lot of people who are anti. They're like, come on, medical bullshit. Is there anybody at the counter when you go in a dispensary in Maryland that has any medical training? No. At least typically. I mean,
I would say typically no. But I think
there is someone in every Maryland dispensary, medical dispensary.
Oh, is that right?
They do have a medical.
Okay. I stand corrected then.
person that they have to have one to get their license. That's a medical background.
I mean, but it makes your point of earlier that the research is so necessary to figure out what combinations,
how to help them,
work for what. So anyway,
because all these bud tenders, they want to help you, and some of them, and some of them are giving out a little bit too much advice. Some are going, "Oh, this is going to be great. This is going to cure this." Right. This is going to, some bud tenders are overly enthusiastic, and we're going, guys, you really can't say that. Unfortunately, you don't print it on the label because that'll cost you money.
Yeah. Well, I think it may evolve to a situation where you've got medical consultants, and I think Faye would be well positioned for that role as somebody who's not a doctor, but she's got the requisite medical training
background, and nutritionist,
and has been schooled in cannabis so that she can give medical marijuana counseling. And then you go to a dispensary, and the dispensary is basically like a weed pharmacy.
Like a pharmacy, yeah.
And she tells you what strain you want,
exactly. How much to take,
and
how to
they
dose
have it, and where to find it.
That's
that's the point. Even in Maryland, even before the pandemic, not all the dispensaries were really doing that. No, some of them you go in, and I'm not going to say which one it was, but it wasn't one near where I live. I was traveling through the state and stopped at one. And I go in, and the guy helping me reeked of weed. And you could tell he just smoked a fucking blunt. I mean, and he's going, "Oh, man, this stuff's great, man. This is awesome. This will get you wasted." Yeah. And he had that kind of attitude. Super nice guy and helpful and everything. And I haven't been back to that dispensary. But now, the other the point I want to make is in Canada, when they changed it nationally, when they legalized nationally, there were some medical dispensaries already opened and stayed open. But you didn't need a prescription to get medical marijuana anymore. Anyone could walk in because you could go down the street, down the block to a adult use dispensary. But they said what's happening in Canada is people are still going to the medical marijuana dispensaries to get stuff to help with ailments. And I read an interview this week with a doctor from one of these medical marijuanas. He's a medical marijuana doctor in Canada, and I still get patients every day, new patients every day. And 90% of them all say, "I don't want to get wasted."
Right.
Yeah.
I just want, my shoulders killing me, man. I want help, and I don't want to take fucking opiates anymore.
I'm anxious. Yeah. Okay.
And I don't want to. I want to be able to take a dump again one day, man. I don't want to take any more opiates.
Right. Exactly. Well,
oh my God.
Speaking of medical, I have one here that'll piss you off. Quick story out of Florida. This just blows me away. Florida has, of course, a very good, actually, legal medical cannabis program. This is out of Ocala, Florida. A Florida high school dean has been fired from his job after he tested positive for marijuana, even though it had been prescribed for him by his doctor to treat post-traumatic stress disorder after he was in the Marines.
Oh, I thought you were going to say after he had to treat with these, deal with these kids for years.
So this guy was a Marine, and he had PTSD, and he went.
It's a tough mofo.
Right. And he got a prescription, and nobody accused him of using this on the job.
Never had a problem. There was never a problem.
No. He just happened. There's mandatory testing, I guess, to work in the school system. So this guy, the Central Florida District offered to suspend Hickman. He's 51 years old. If he agreed not to use medical cannabis in the future, but the 10-year employee refused.
Good for him.
He said, "This is the only thing that helps me with my PTSD." So
you want me to suffer?
Right. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So
for my job, for my livelihood.
This guy.
You want me to sacrifice even more?
This guy lost his job.
What's the name of the school?
It's a school system in Ocala, Florida. It's the Marion County School Board voted 5-0 to fire Mike Hickman, saying that while medical marijuana is legal in Florida, it is illegal under federal law. Its use violates district policy, and he failed to notify his supervisor that he was using it. So.
Should we post a link to that school board?
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I can do that. Show description and invite our listeners to register.
Deluge them
with their displeasure with this. Yeah. I don't think there's anything that can be done about it. But if you're outraged by it, I think
pissed me off,
Are school board members elected officials?
I would assume. Yeah.
I think that yes, they are. Yes.
I'm not. It's
well, here's another area where Vote Pro Pot might enter.
Yeah, I just think that's disgusting. But I just wanted to run through it real quick.
And think about it.
And he was using it 100% legally, right?
Yeah, he wasn't high at school. Was
and there was no
but I mean, he's not breaking any laws.
Oh no, totally legal. He has a card, has a prescription. It was prescribed to him to help him with his post-traumatic stress.
That's just shameful. It's just utterly shameful.
It's disgusting. And they voted 5-0. So anyway, we'll move on. I just wanted to run that by you guys. It caught my eye today. Just happened, I think, last week. So shame on you, Ocala, Florida, and the Marion County School Board. Shame on you.
Yep.
And here's a patriot, a vet,
right,
a veteran. He's a Marine, a tough mofo.
Now they'd be fine with if he was taking freaking opiates. If he was
they'd be fine if he was a fucking alcoholic.
Right. No problem.
They'd
buy
as
him a
long as you're
drink.
not drunk at work, no problem. But God forbid
he could probably get caught drinking at work and still not lose your job.
Well,
Jay, then
I'm sure that's happened. How many drinking? I mean, got to drink to teach.
I think we should post a link. If we can find the link to them, I think we should post the link on our show description. And folks, just tell them what you feel.
Yeah, man,
I think this is nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
You know, I just wanted to say something. Also, when I donate money to the Marijuana Policy Project, and when you do, they give you this really nifty pint glass.
I want one of those. So
donate some money, damn it.
I'm going to donate money
to the Marijuana Policy Project, Washington, D.C. Tell them I sent you. They'll give you a glass.
What's the latest? We like to throw in some celebrity stories from time to time.
I can't hide how much I care about that.
I am obsessed with that stuff, man. What is it?
I can't bring myself to give a shit, but okay.
Sorry, man. I'm totally into it. Although I don't know half these people. So we've got this.
They are non-essential workers.
Yeah, I've got this article here about celebrity investors in a new cannabis drink company. And it's called Can, and the investors are Gwyneth Paltrow, Rebel Wilson, Ruby Rose, Darren Criss, not sure who that is, Baron Davis, Tove Lo, and Casey Neistat. Now, I'm afraid the last four of those I've never heard of, but that's probably just because I'm old.
But you're not as cool as the rest of our listeners.
I'm old, and yeah, that's right. So anyway, they have this company called Can, and they make a beverage that's supposed to be amazing. And it's out now in L.A., in areas of L.A., and everybody's raving about it. But
does it taste any good?
They say it's delicious. They say it's the best THC beverage drink that anyone has tried out there. I read reviews on other places about it to see if it was any good, and everybody said, yeah, it's really good. It's really tasty.
It's sold at dispensaries?
Yeah, dispensaries. So anyway, that's...
I guess they're not selling it in bars, obviously. They're not saying they didn't say one way or the other.
It's 2 milligrams of THC and 4 milligrams of CBD. So it's very low dose.
Okay. You're not going to freak out. It's got some CBD in there.
2 milligrams. Right. So, you can drink 3 or 4 of them. But are they drinking it at parties? Are people sitting at home alone drinking it? Are they drinking in groups? I mean, when
like someone comes over to your house, is that what you do? Is that the new thing now? Instead of offering them, want to smoke a joint or just it's like a beverage? And are they mixing it with alcohol?
Probably. I mean,
I would.
Off the record. Because like you said,
why
they got to drink it at home.
this in bars?
I mean, you can't sell to bars, so they got to be drinking it at home. They're buying it at a dispensary.
Why not?
Or in the parking lot. Or
you got to change the law.
There's something we need to vote for. You got to vote to legalize the sale of THC beverages in establishments that sell alcoholic beverages.
So far, they've raised $5 million, and that doesn't sound like a ton to me, but all of those famous elite Hollywood types that I mentioned in the beginning are invested in this particular company. So good luck to you, right?
Well, folks, we have come to an end of another podcast here on Vote Pro Podcast. We're so glad you joined us today. We want to encourage you to get in touch with us. Go to VoteProPot.com. Send us a message. Give us your thoughts. Share us with a friend. Go on to Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating or even a 4-star rating. I can't imagine why anyone would give us only 4 stars. But whatever rating you know what? If you're not going to do 5, don't bother. I changed my mind. Fuck it. But we're whether you do or you don't, we're just glad you joined us, and we hope you learned something, had a few laughs, and Jay has some more information that he can share with you.
Send us an email at podcast@VoteProPot.com, and we have a message line. Give us a call, leave a message, let us know what you think, give us an idea, tell us what you think of the show, and we will play it on the air.
Yep.
240-257-2441. What you got, Andrew?
Well, I want to tell everyone to make sure you get out and vote pro pot.
No more
next year
preaching for voting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows what's going to happen?
There might be some runoff ballots.
Yeah, but
runoff elections coming in the next
but
weeks.
The 2021 election midterm.
You'll never hear us ask you to vote pro pot in 2020 again.
Thank God.
Right. 2021, that's a different story. Just because, we had great luck. Congratulations and thank everyone, who voted pro pot.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Every one of you. Thank you. And, welcome to the 21st century. It's
time for
great.
some new initiatives and new states, right, guys?
Right. Anyway, but thank you for sharing and caring. But if you want to, if you have anything to add, join us on one of our social networking platforms and share us your ideas, your thoughts, if you have any ideas, man, we'd love to hear from you. So go to Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter and just do a search for Vote Pro Pot.